is the RF and Microwave Update Series. I'm Pat Hindle, and I'm here with my co-host Gary LaRude. In this episode, we're going to take a look at our November 5G, 6G IoT issue. And the cover story is entitled The Dual Drive Amplifier, the Next Frontier in Power Amplification. And this is a really cool article. Authors from Falcom review the first generation of a 30 gigahertz dual drive power amplifier made on 45 nanometer SOI processes. And it's got power added efficiency of 50% at 30 gigahertz. And that kind of sets a record for CMOS and a great milestone. So Gary, what else do we have for technical features?
Well, along the lines of the 6G theme, we have a special report from IMEC on research they're doing on heterogeneous integration of a indium phosphide and CMOS IC for applications above 100 gigahertz. Then from TMY Tech, an application note on a millimeter wave phased array antenna test system that can be integrated with an automatic handler for over-the-air testing in production. And the point of the system is it really speeds the measurement of beamforming systems. Then from Keysight, more on the IoT side, we have an article addressing the challenges of testing to assure cellular V2X compliance, which is not an easy thing to do. Then we have a couple articles from university researchers, one on a chipless RFID tag that uses microstrip patch resonators, and another one on a magnetically tunable U-slot microstrip patch antenna that uses pneumatic liquid crystal materials. So a lot to read in this month's issue.
Yeah, it's quite the packed full issue, so great content there. So today we had a special guest join us. I talked with CJ Reddy, Vice President of Business Development for Electromagnetics Americas at Altair, and we discussed electronic system design challenges. Let's take a look at a clip from that now. So today I thought we would discuss electronic system design, and let's start with what are the challenges that engineers are facing in electronic system design today?
That's a very good question, Pat. I think electronic systems are becoming part of a product, any product you can think of, because most of the products we think of nowadays are becoming smart products. What that means is that, the product not only does what it has to do, but also it connects to your phone and to an app and other kind of things. So this could be your mobile devices we are using, but also the smart speakers, smart homes, and Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. So designing of electronic systems for these products is becoming more and more complex because they not only have to work with the device functionality, but also there to be a smart as well as connected functionality. So this starts with good circuit design. That's a basis for any electronic systems, but also power electronics, for example, plays a critical role, and high-speed digital circuits also play a critical role. Then comes the RF circuits, which are completely different from normal electronic circuits. Then, of course, the antennas built into the circuit boards also is a challenge because all of them have to coexist. They should not have any EMI, EMC problems. Sometimes it's also referred to as desense. That is, your own circuit is interfering with your antenna functionality.
So Altair really does have a full platform of tools, covering electrical, mechanical, and thermal simulation. So quite the platform to be using. So turning to the news, Synopsys, Ansys, and Keysight Technologies, they announced the availability of their new millimeter wave RF design flow for TSMC's 16 nanometer FinFET compact technology. And they'll be able to have customers take advantage of their performance, power, cost, and productivity benefits and open a front to back design flow, which consists of a modern industry-leading tools for RFIC designs. And this process addresses kind of the stringent performance demands of 5G and 6G SoCs, so it fits in this issue perfectly. And also, I've kind of been following smart poles. They're multifunction aggregation points for smart urban infrastructure, and they're built on street lights and connected to utility poles. And according to ABI research, by 2030, the installed base of smart poles will exceed 10.8 million globally, and the system revenues will exceed 60 billion. So quite a big market if it does take off like they predict. And there's a lot of barriers to get these up and going, a lot of legislation and their own ownership issues. But I think the demand will really increase quickly, in the coming years, getting closer to 2030, kind of slow to take off right now. Also, I saw that Movandi announced that they're collaborating with Rakuten Mobile to expand 5G outdoor and indoor millimeter wave coverage and capacity in Japan, and they'll be using Movandi's smart repeater and Beam XR Open RAN technology. And Movandi has a proprietary millimeter wave chipsets. Their phased array antenna and software technology will also be enabling this 5G millimeter wave signals and provide great coverage that will reach the millimeter wave potential for high throughput and capacity. So, Gary, what did you see in the news?
Well, also on the 5G front, but this time sub 6 gigahertz, Analog Devices and Intel are working with the Telecom Infra Project to develop an Open RAN 32T 32R massive MIMO radio unit. And it will use Intel's FPGAs and Analog Devices Radioverse transceiver. And they'll be demonstrating this at the upcoming Mobile World Congress in Barcelona in February. And then OneWeb has put 36 more satellites into orbit. It was launched by an Indian space research organization rocket. That's the first commercial launch using the ISRO's LV-M3 rocket. And OneWeb's constellation now has some 462 satellites in orbit. You may recall that OneWeb was launching from Russia, but that stopped, of course, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And so turning to events, I attended the AOC event in Washington, D.C. last week, which is a premier EW show. And it was a pretty good turnout. There were 140 plus exhibitors and 2,600 attendees. So it was pretty busy. And I visited some of the RF and microwave companies. And I would say some of the major trends that I saw were kind of more use of software-defined radio hardware and more digitization of these platforms. So this allows manufacturers of the RF portion to be able to use one RF front end that's more capable and reconfigurable for very different missions and kind of using standard platforms to be able to meet many needs. So I think that's a trend in the future. So Gary, how about you for events?
Well, our 4-week online technical conference, EDICon Online, completed with our last series on radar, automotive, and SATCOM. The nice thing is all the presentations over the 4 weeks were recorded and are available to view on demand at edicononline.com. That's one of the advantages of this conference. You can watch when it's convenient. And that wraps up another episode of Frequency Matters. Today's sponsors are RFMW and Altair. RFMW is a technical distributor focused on RF, microwave, and millimeter wave products, and they represent the leading companies in the industry from antenna to baseband. You can find their line card at rfmw.com. And Altair, as you mentioned, is a leader in multi-physics simulation tools spanning electromagnetic to thermal to mechanical analysis. Plus, they're incorporating artificial intelligence and cloud computing to enhance the power available to designers. You can learn more about their products at altair.com. We'll be back in a couple weeks for another episode of Frequency Matters. Until then, visit microwavejournal.com for the latest industry news, technical articles, company videos, and our podcasts. We have been releasing a steady stream of podcasts, including my recent conversation with Mikhail Oberg, who's the Portfolio Strategy Manager at Ericsson. He gave us an informative update on the state of microwave radio. Thanks for joining us, and be well.